Hello everyone, welcome back to Vigor Check. I am Schmidt and I'm going to be presenting you my fight analysis on the Black Flame. Now this thing has excited me for as long as I can remember. As soon as I saw this monster, it's so cool and I want to show you some of this. Now, let's get right into the Black Flame. Now first of all, look at this Enraged animation, the way it bursts into flames and throws those oil balls everywhere. God, that just gets me so excited. I wonder if we fight bigger versions of the monster, will the range on that be bigger? I'm sure it will. That would make more sense. I know if there's monster size variation, that's cool. Now I want to go into the grab as well a little bit. Look at this beautiful grab. The way it rears up, throws out, and then just coils around you. It's horrifying. And then just throws out this propulsion thing to just throw fire in your face. It's horrific. And I don't think we've seen a grab this cool in Monster Hunter, apart from maybe Fatalis, ever. And even Fatalis maybe isn't that cool. So yeah, I think that's just awesome. Now, if we move on to the next bit of gameplay, the thing that I think is really cool is the way you see this monster, right? You come in and it's like it's crashed into this crater, like it's not from this planet, and it almost doesn't look like it's from this planet, as do other cephalopods in real life. They just don't look like they belong here, and that just looks so alien from here. It's crazy. Honestly crazy. Now one thing we saw in this fight, which I think is awesome, is being able to pick up these molten explosive rocks and roll them at the monster. That's something I didn't think we would have, as these environmental objects we can throw around. I know we could throw the barrel bombs, but that's like a natural barrel bomb. And that's really, really cool. I really like that. And here we go ahead and go a sneak attack. Now we know that this monster is blind and is immune to flash, which is really cool because it uses these sensory organs on the end of its tentacles, which it also uses to show exactly who it's going to attack. As this monster can attack in any direction, the developers wanted to give people a way to see what's going to attack, and I'm sure the way you can see, if you look carefully, is these lights on the end of its tentacles. Now, what they're planning to do, and what I think is going to be the case, is each time those light up, an attack is going to come from that exact tentacle. And I think as we fight maybe more challenging versions of this, going into Master Rank, maybe tempered or equivalent for this game, I think what's going to be important is that we keep an eye on those signals, because you probably aren't going to want to get hit by this guy at all. So it's going to be a key feature in a more complex fight. Now, another thing I want to talk about here is the mount. The mount is so cool. It shows the intelligence of this monster, the way instead of thrashing about, it tries to pick you off its head, which we've never seen another monster do apart from maybe Rajang pulling you off. It shows the intelligence, and I think that the developers paying attention to how intelligent cephalopods are in real life, I think that's really cool. I think they should definitely focus on this more. I think the way they get the ecology of real life cephalopods into this monster through its intelligence is one of the most impressive things I've seen in Monster Hunter to date, and it excites me a whole lot. Now you can see it looks like a crit point on the head there, so I think when we get a knockdown, the head or the back of the head is where we're going to want to focus. Now another thing here is you can see it rearing up ready for that grab again. Luckily, it seemed like the hunter was just a little too close to the monster for it to grab, and this movement, the way it fluidly slides around, is just absolutely crazy. Here we have a Jyuratodus coming in for the fight. Now, a Jyuratodus is, we've seen him get bullied in the cinematic footage, where he's just lifted up and presented like a trophy on each arm, two of them by the Black Flame, and you can see here, a Jyuratodus, honestly, he just throw a punch, but unfortunately Black Flame just says, nah, fuck you, and slams him back for a lot more damage. Now, I wonder if that was the turf war. I'm disappointed. I hope it wasn't the turf war. I hope we do get a turf war, because I think it might be really cool. But yeah, as of now, I don't think that was the turf war. It didn't seem to look like it. And here we have the hunter beating on the back of his head and looking like, ooh, looks like they set off a sleep toad. So this thing's going to go to sleep now. And I love its sleeping animation. It just becomes this blob on the floor. Like, it just is so helpless, and look at it, dude. Looks like Squidward taking a nap. It's absolutely awesome. And we do actually have a name for this monster now. It's called New Udra, which I think is really cool. It's they like these double-barreled names now in Wilds, and I think it's very interesting. Now, it looks like the monster kind of can rear up right before its Enraged animation. And again, here we see those fireballs being thrown out. And we're about to see an attack that only Fatalis and Kulftaroth have really thrown at us before. And I'm excited to show you it. We have a big vent of flame come out like that, and it's very reminiscent of how Kulftaroth rears back and throws out that big long wave of fire in Master Rank Cove. I think that is a really cool attack, and it really pressures the player to be aware of their surroundings and their positioning, I guess. Now look at the way it crawls into that hole like that. That's so cool. I love the way they told us in the last, like I explained in the last video, they can kind of crawl into these tiny little holes because of a special rig they made for this monster, which allows it to crawl like that. And if you didn't know, real cephalopods do that. They can get in anywhere where their eyeballs can. So it's really cool. Now, you can see these big, heavy slams and more aggressive attacks when it's enraged. It really goes and throws its weight around. And I guess when you've got a monster that can slide around like that, it should be throwing its whole body weight into its attacks. It's really impressive. Now, there's the knockdown, like we see with Zinogre and his elemental debuff, I guess, when he's buffed up with lightning and you knock him out of his charge. I think that's very similar to that. And you can see the crazy oil slick after the oil's been nice and hot and it's burned away. You see the skin underneath this monster. It's so good to look at and very impressive. I think the texture work and the design of it is just beautiful to look at. And whoever's using this insect glaive seems to really know what they're doing. It's nice to watch. Very nice to watch, indeed. Now, I want to make note that after the monster's been knocked out of this form, you see it's kind of limping, it's a lot more exhausted and slow, you see it drooling there. And look how weak and limp its attacks are, it just doesn't seem to want to put in any effort. And it looks like that's kind of what we see when you see like monsters constantly taking breaks in world. I think that's this version of that. So it's kind of like not putting any energy in, maybe it's burnt out of energy. I assume it's the exhaust status after you've knocked it out. And I really like that. I think they've really nailed the animation to show a tired cephalopod, and I'm really excited to see if we have another cephalopod in the game, because that would be awesome. I think this design is fantastic, and as you can see, those light up tentacles again showing us exactly where this thing's going to attack from, which I think is very important. You know, like I stated before, we're going to need that when this monster gets harder in high rank and above. A Jyuratodus coming back in, deciding he wants to do some stuff, and he's probably just going to get shut right back down again. But actually, it looks like the insect glaive user has switched to dual blades and is completely abusing the fact they have a Jyuratodus and is just keeping this black flame knocked right on their ass, which I think is fantastic. Now there's the paralysis proc, and that looks absolutely beautiful. The way it freaks out like that, how you'd imagine a cephalopod getting electrocuted would look like. I think they nailed that animation, and it's awesome to look at, honestly. Now there's another focus attack. God, the dual blades focus attack is crazy. And if I remember correctly from the other footage, this is where we get a tentacle cut, and we've been confirmed we can cut multiple of these off, and I wonder how much that affects its attack, whether it affects the damage and definitely affects the range. I think it's going to be really important to try and cut these tentacles down on this monster to reduce its aggression and its capability at the end of the day. And to be honest, all those extra rewards, I'm not complaining. I would absolutely take those. Alright, well the last thing I want to show you is the monster retreating to its nest, I guess you could call it, which is this little hidey hole. Like I said about the octopus being able to squeeze in small spaces, they really wanted to take advantage of that, and this is exactly where an octopus might hide in a coral reef, if it was made of oil. So they're going to wake him up now, and you're going to see how violently it bursts out of here. It's crazy. But yeah, with that, I think that ends the fight analysis. That's about all I can cover and all the new stuff we saw for this monster, and I think we just have to get in there and fight it for ourselves. So, if you enjoyed the video and you enjoyed the gameplay, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell, all that good stuff. That looks absolutely terrifying, and I will see you guys in the next video. Have a good evening, have a good night, goodbye.